All right, are you ready to hear me mispronounce some words? Good thing GRE is not a pronunciation test because I would be screwed. First up is the word vitiate. I think that's how it's pronounced. So the film was vitiated by its plot. So that's a negative thing. So I can go ahead and cross out the word enhanced, served, and popularized. So we have two words here, both of which are kind of negative. And the question is, what would be the best one here? So if it's complicated by the plot, well, that means, honestly, it doesn't really make much sense, does it? Because the plot could be complicated, but it's not like the film becomes complicated because of the plot. Well, the plot is complicated. And that's not really the meaning of vitiate. The meaning is actually impair, I-M-P-A-I-R, of which a synonym is spoiled. So the best answer is E. All right, number two, these are peripheral matters. So the noun of this is going to be peripheral, which means kind of on the outside. So that means these matters are not that important because the important idea is in the middle, right? So pressing is wrong because that means like we have to solve it right now. Challenging means difficult, no. Practical, no. And then finally recurring means like the problem keeps happening. So the correct answer here is going to be secondary. And again, what secondary means there is essentially it's not very important. It's not primary. That's kind of what they mean by this right here. Correct answer is D. Number three, our viewpoint is tenable. You often hear this word with viewpoint or perspectives or maybe like a policy. And what it means is you can defend it. Like you can actually provide reasons why we should follow this path or why we should do this thing. So the correct answer here is actually going to be justifiable, because remember what justifiable means. It means you can justify it. And what does it mean, justify? It means to give reasons or to give support or to give some kind of defense in what you are following. The book distressed Michikazu. So just by looking at this word, it's pretty clearly negative, right? I mean, I think we can agree there. But a lot of these words are negative. Puzzled, bored, misled. The only one that's really not negative is dignified. So let's get rid of that one. Okay, bye-bye. So the question is, what happens when you feel distressed? Do you feel like confused? Do you feel like uninterested? Do you feel like you got tricked somehow? Well, no, all three of those are not what we're going for here. Actually, you just feel kind of bothered or annoyed by the book. So the correct answer is going to be agitated. Let's go ahead and circle that in green. All right, let's move on. So those are the first four. Number five, this commodity is fungible. You often see this word in relation to money. Like we often say that, modern currency is fungible. And what that means is if I have a $100 bill, that's no different in theory than any other $100 bill that I can hold. For example, my $100 bill is not different than your $100 bill. If you offered me a $100 bill for my $100 bill, I wouldn't be like angry or anything. I might be wondering why you were doing that. But basically what it means is these items are interchangeable or substitutable. So the correct answer is going to be A. It was a provocative speech. So let's talk about this one. This is a good one to talk about because GRE does love this word. And I want you to consider the root word. And the root word is going to be provoke, the verb. If I provoke you, what I'm really trying to get out of you is a reaction, typically a negative one. So I might say something bad about your mom or something bad about your family or something bad about something you believe in very strongly. So that is kind of the essence of what's happening here. It was a provocative speech, a speech that was designed to elicit reactions. Now, disorganized doesn't mean get a reaction. Encouraging maybe does, and deadpan also doesn't mean get a reaction, okay? Now, remember, I told you the reaction is usually negative, so encouraging is wrong. And then powerful could be positive, it could be negative. It's kind of a neutral word here. It was a powerful speech. Maybe people felt very happy, or maybe they felt very angry. We're not really sure. So the best answer is actually going to be this word inflammatory. And whenever that's used with a speech, it's almost like we're trying to make the audience like very like inflamed or very fiery, usually with anger or something like that. All right, number 7. The art form demands verisimilitude. This word is ridiculous. Yeah, I'm not even going to try. Verisimilitude. And basically, these are one of the words you just have to memorize. It doesn't mean spontaneity. I'm sure there's a root word in here somewhere that means the correct answer. Meticulousness, no. Beauty, no. Experimentation, no. So what it really means is just kind of realism, or, you know, it looks lifelike or something like that. But I really do crack up at the pronunciation of some of these words. He's a beneficent ruler. The only thing I want you to be careful of here is it looks like benefit, which means good, or beneficial, which means good. And this word is also good. The meaning's just a little bit different. So the meaning here is either like generous or kind of kind, one of those words. Correct answer is D. Now, I do want to talk about the trick answer. So the trick answer here would be fair. And the reason why this is the trick is because we often think of a fair ruler in a positive way or a positive connotation. But remember, a fair ruler doesn't have to necessarily be kind. So let's say, for example, somebody steals something. Well, a fair ruler is going to punish that person, right? Maybe a kind ruler would give mercy or would give leniency or something like that. So make sure you look at all 5 answer choices and you don't fall into one of the traps. Okay, what do we have next? So number 9, the issue was exacerbated by the team. Again, maybe one of these words you can just kind of guess the connotation. I know that's a dangerous game, but exacerbated just looks negative, doesn't it? So analyze, we can cross out. Expected, we can cross out. Resolved, we can cross out. And then this is basically just a memorization game. Exacerbated means it becomes worse. So the correct answer is going to be A, worsened. Let me get my green pen. All right. The approaches are interchangeable. I'm not going to talk that much about this this answer. The only thing I'll mention is I try to confuse you a little bit by putting an I in every answer choice. So again, we're just testing vocab knowledge here. So I'm trying to give you, I'm trying to avoid giving you any clues that kind of give away the answer. Correct answer here: if 2 things are interchangeable, they're essentially the same thing. You know, in fact, the interchangeable was the answer choice I wanted to put in the fungible question from before, but I didn't want to repeat the word interchangeable, which is why I used the kind of awkward substitutable in place of interchangeable. So the correct answer here is going to be D, identical. His knowledge is encyclopedic. Let's talk about this one, because this is one of the ones that you can kind of reason out by yourself. So if you think about an encyclopedia, all right, I think most of us know what that is. If you don't, an encyclopedia was before Wikipedia and before the internet. It was kind of a fat book that included a lot of information just about everything, and it usually went in alphabetical order. So for example, if I had the encyclopedia for A, the entire book would be filled with things that started with A, and there might be like half a page or a paragraph kind of giving me information about that thing. It was a terrible time. This was in the days before Wikipedia, and they used to have like door-to-door salesmen selling these books. It was pretty crazy. It was almost like a status symbol, having encyclopedias in your house. So with that in mind, I just kind of gave you a lot of hints. An encyclopedia gives information essentially about everything. So which one of these words basically means about everything? Correct answer is comprehensive. It is a lucrative career. This is probably the easiest word, so I'm just going to tell you the answer. It is a profitable career. Okay, number 13. In this situation, now is not the time to be cavalier. Someone who has a cavalier attitude is kind of indifferent or cool, like they don't care, nothing really bothers them. So pessimistic is obviously bothered by stuff. Foolhardy just means stupid. Capricious means like volatile, like you can't really predict my personality or my mood. And then finally, irresolute. I won't make the same mistake twice. If you saw that video from before, resolute means stubborn, you cannot change my mind. Irresolute means you can change my mind, like I'm open to persuasion. So the best answer is going to be D, unconcerned. All right, so the next one, at times one must be laconic. If you guys recall the previous video, we had a word called Spartan. And this actually referenced ancient Sparta from Greece and how they kind of live this abstemious, ascetic, very strict lifestyle. They kind of abstain from luxury. Well, Laconic is in the same neighborhood from an area of Greece actually called Laconia. And these people, I think of which Spartans were part of, were very kind of terse and didn't say a lot of information. They kind of kept to themselves and focused only on the task at hand. So the best answer is going to be C, reserved. The two wings of the museum are incongruous. If I wanted to make this question a little bit more challenging, I probably should have crossed out the word to, because you can use that information to guess it's either going to be C or E, because that references two things, right? So yes, that is correct. It's either C or E. Interdependent means they work together, and then incongruous means they don't really work well together. So the best answer is E, incompatible. And number 16, this is, again, one of these words where it's just pretty nasty and you have to memorize it, unfortunately, unless you're really good with your roots and suffixes and prefixes and stuff like that. So for me, if you recall, we have kind of this y-axis and x-axis. And this is like the number of definitions you need to know for a word. And this is how difficult the word is. So there's actually kind of a negative relationship here. As the word becomes more difficult, you actually need to know fewer and fewer definitions. So the word opprobrium is a very difficult word, which means you really only need to know one definition. And what opprobrium means is like a very strong censor. That's a censor with a U, not with a O. Kind of like a very strong criticism, or one of the synonyms is abuse. So the correct answer is C. All right, number 17, my supplies are dwindling. Now, a good test taker might immediately be attracted to the ing and go, oh yeah, ing, ing, ing. And if I was a really evil, tricky kind of test maker, I would make all the ing answers wrong, but in this case, one of them is correct. All right, so whenever something dwindles, it reduces in size or it becomes smaller. So the correct answer is falling, A. All right, number 18 says, Franklin renounced the policy. These are one of those words that on the GRE is actually not that difficult. You just have to know it. So the correct answer is rejected. Corporations have eclipsed men. You can kind of figure this one out from common knowledge of what an eclipse is. So for example, when we have a solar eclipse, we have the sun, and you're going to see my horrible drawing skills right now. And then what happens is the moon kind of moves in front of it. And what it does is it covers it up, or it basically blocks the light, I guess would be a good way to put it. And eclipsed has several meanings. That's one of the meanings. If we're talking about two people, it means one person becomes more important than the other person. Think about like a younger brother eclipsing his older brother and kind of becoming more important in the eyes of the parents or something like that. So the best answer here is going to be B, overshadowed. She is canny. Do not confuse this with the word uncanny. That would be one of those kind of tricks that GRE would love to throw in there. So canny just means smart, clever. So the best choice is going to be E, sharp. Again, if you describe somebody as sharp, we're not saying that they're a knife. We're saying that they're pretty intelligent, pretty smart, pretty quick-witted, things like that. For number 21, what I like to think of is, thank you, Your Majesty, or please, Your Majesty. I'm talking to a king or a queen, right? So again, one of these ones you can make a reasonable guess about. That's a dangerous game, but it does work here. Correct answer is authoritative. Movies from the past are just as hackneyed, one of my pronunciation flaws right here, as ones from today. Notice all of these words with one exception are, or with two exceptions are negative. And hackneyed is a negative word, so let's cross out the two non-negative ones. The first one's riveting, which means really interesting. And the next one is representative, Well, representative of what? That doesn't really make any sense. All right, so what does hackneyed mean? Hackneyed means trite, common, not interesting, dull. So the best answer is going to be E, unoriginal. Like the audience has already seen this movie before. All right, Jadwin considers the policy onerous. Onerous is like a synonym with cumbersome or burdensome. You know, it's a difficult thing to carry out or a difficult thing to accomplish. And again, notice that all of these things are negative. Unenforceable is not a bad answer. It's just not as good as burdensome. 24, his transgressions cannot be ignored. Whenever you have a transgression, it's basically when you do something wrong. And I did put a trick answer in here, so hopefully you can identify the trick as mistakes. The reason why this is not correct, and the correct answer is offenses, is because one of these has intent. You know, this is one way GRE likes to trick you, with intent. For example, if I make a mistake, I didn't necessarily do it on purpose, and my actions maybe were not malicious. It's just an accident. But if I offend somebody or my offenses, typically that implies some level of intent, like I chose to do the wrong thing even though I knew it was wrong. Correct answer is D, offenses. All right, we're about to wrap things up here. Correct answer for my mom and I have never had an acrimonious relationship. What I tried to do here with the structure is I wanted you to think that this was actually a positive word. Because typically in Western culture, when we talk about our relationships with our parents, we say something negative. But actually the word acrimonious is negative. So we can cross out, for example, intimate. Let me get my red pen really quickly. All right, got it. We can cross out the word intimate. We can cross out the word cordial or pleasant. And these two are kind of the same, or at least they're close. So the correct answer here is actually going to be spiteful. And kind of analyze what that means. If you do something to spite somebody, you're doing it to kind of challenge them or make them angry or something like that. She has an urbane air about her. The way I like to think of this one is the word urban like New York City like sophisticated. So the correct answer is going to be refined. Now, pompous can also mean refined, but again, we have this kind of positive connotation and negative connotation. So be careful with that on the GRE. The event left me feeling exasperated. Notice these sound the same, exhausted, but they don't mean the same. A person who is exasperated is frustrated. Sam makes it a point to avoid belligerent people. Notice all of these words are negative, so you just have to know the meaning. Well, superior wouldn't be negative, right? We'll call that a positive. Overeducated. So a belligerent person tries to start fights. And if you think about a movie, you can divide the movie into two characters, the protagonist and the antagonist. The protagonist is the main character we cheer for, we root for, and the antagonist is like the enemy or the villain. So the correct answer is D. All right, almost done. Two more. Universities are full of parsimonious students. Again, one of those really challenging words you just have to memorize, unfortunately, I think for most people. Parsimonious means you hate spending money, stingy. A GRE synonym would be like miserly. All right, he was known for his tempestuous mood. A tempest, and I learned this, not very long ago, apparently is like a violent storm. So if you describe someone's mood as a violent storm or stormy, what would be the best choice? Best choice is A, capricious. All right, guys, that is it for this vocab test. I hope you did okay. So this is number 12. Each one has 30. So we now have 360 words in our list. We're getting up there. We're getting pretty impressive, guys. All right, if you have any questions, shoot me an email. I'll try my best to reply. My email inbox, I've said this before, is getting a little full. So I try my best, and sometimes I go on big email writing kind of moods, and other times I just have other things going on, but I will try my best. Until that time, everybody, have a good weekend, or the weekend's almost over, and happy GRE studying.